Hi, this is Sarah. I thought I would change up what I do for the Plan With Me and Write With Me videos this week because I'm starting to edit Citation Needed. And I sat down in my little writing studio with my printed out version of the book, which will be book 7 in the 21st Century Austen series. Wow, I can't believe we're almost at the end. But you've seen how some of my prep for writing a novel, you've seen the actual writing of writing a novel, but I don't often talk about the editing process. And this book is a little bit more unique than my other writing and editing processes. Because this is a second chance story, an adaptation of Persuasion, I have to talk about the history the couple had together, the life that they had before a breakup and now reunion. When I initially wrote the book in November, I tried writing my normal way, which is just the narrative, the linear narration that I would bounce back and forth as I typed, telling the relevant history when it happened. This is how I did Modern Persuasion when I wrote Modern Persuasion. Also, I have Swedish fish. I fucking love Swedish fish. Everything is Swedish fish. That kept me going throughout this edit. So when I wrote Modern Persuasion, I put in the history where it needed to go. And there wasn't a lot of history needed. It was pretty easy to explain. But Penny and Mason need some more. One, because we're in Lecoq. Again, we're going to be in Lecoq till the end of the series. And I felt I needed a better sense of their dynamic in graduate school together at Lecoq State. So I started writing both the present and the past, and then I got to a section of the past where I realized I couldn't move forward with the present until I had written out the entire story from meeting to breakup, and that would inform where Penny was moving forward. But that's not how people are going to want to read this story. People don't like that kind of time jump. I don't like that kind of time jump. I don't want to read the past and then read the present. I want you to give me the relevant past content intermingled with the present storyline. The present storyline is about them getting back together. It's the happily ever after. So I wrote everything from the past, then I wrote everything from the present, and then I put it away. And I put it to bed for what is now about 3.5 months. And now it's time to go through it. So what I've done is I've set up 2 colors of index cards. This is something I do not normally do. But each index card is the scene that I'm reading. And I number it. If it's orange, it's a past. If it's pink, it's a present. So there was a lot of pink that's going to be used in the beginning. Not so much for a while after that, because once I got into writing their past, I really stuck with writing their past. But what I'm doing is writing key points, key characters, unnamed characters, and ordering the scene in the book that I have, the manuscript that is next to me. You can see the white paper is the printout of the manuscript. I am very much a work from the printout kind of editor. I need to sit and make notes. And if you've seen any content on social media of me re-editing the other books in the series, you'll know I really like to mark up the books. I like to put in tabs. I like to put in all my sticky pads. And I have so many sticky pads, it's nice to be able to use them. So going through this with the cards, what I will do when I am done is pull out each card, order the story's narration, so mix the present and the past together, primarily putting the past in the spaces it's necessary. And there might be content from the past that doesn't get into the main narration. That will be bonus content someday. I assure you, you will get to read it. Just like you have had a chance to read almost all the bonus content in other books. And yes, I do white things out. You can see my little editing kits, my highlighters, my pens, my whiteout strip thing. I have a little case next to me. This is a more it's an editing kit in an envelope, not an editing kit in one of my nice pretty planner packs that I got from Erin Condren. So this day was my first day going through. I got through about 3 chapters before I got tired and was ready to go home. So you see the 2 index cards. So then you see these 2 sticky pads with tabs on them. And what I'm doing is writing down character names because, and I realized this in January after I had written the draft, we've been in Lecoq so much between Love and War in Woodhouse Hall, Unraveling Carrie Woodhouse, now Sweeten Up Jenny Darcy, only available on Patreon if you want to read it before 2024, which I expect you want to because it's so fun. This is the candy store one. This is the Pride and Prejudice modernization with the gender swap. And this one I'm working on is Persuasion with a gender swap. Anyway, back to the point. The point is, there are a lot of characters who haven't been the focus of anything, have been mentioned, haven't even been named in some cases, that already exist in the universe and can be allies and foils for our main characters, and sometimes both. Lois Fairfax, for example, is a prominent player in this book. She was a prominent player in Love and War in Woodhouse Hall. She was sort of peripheral in Unraveling Carrie Woodhouse. And she really doesn't she doesn't play any role in Sweeten Up Jenny Darcy. But when you're at Lecoq State and she is, she's available. She is a main character to play with. And in this case, she's been an ally. She's complicated, but she's typically an ally. But in Penny's case, she has not been an ally. In fact, in Penny's case, she's been a major annoyance. So what I'm doing here is I'm going through and tabbing the chapters to make sure that I have printed all the chapters, or at least numbered them properly, as I set goals for moving forward with the edit. I will be adding this to the Kanban board for quarter number 2, and I will show you some of the setup of that later on, probably next week, because that's just, I'm not doing that. I still haven't finished this quarter yet. We're still in March. But it'll allow, knowing how many chapters I've got and how many I've gotten through will allow me to move the Kanban board forward. So I'm just putting my sticky tabs and the flags so that I can see where I am. So this is how I edit. This is very often what I do. I come in with sticky pads, make notes. This is the first edit. This will be to edit into draft 2. I don't often talk about the order in which I edit. So when I write draft 1, which is typically in a National Novel Writing Month event, for this series, it is almost always the November event, the main National Novel Writing Month. The goal is 50,000 words, and I typically go over that, and I'm pretty sure I did for this one also. This is writing my draft. This is me telling myself the story. I'm not a planner when it comes to writing. I can be a pantser, which means I fly by the seat of my pants, but I don't outline, and I don't merely fly by the seat of my pants. When it comes to a book that I want to publish, I tell myself a concrete story. I know the story arc. I know the change arc for our main narrated character. I know what both the main character, usually female for me, and our romantic lead, male, want. I know some of what the other surrounding characters want and are trying to do, and I know where I want them to end up. At the very least, I know the end. Sometimes I've gone into books only knowing the end. But if I merely fly by the seat of my pants, I will either not have enough or I will have way too much, and I will never finish. If I outline, I will never have enough to write. And I know this because I've done National Novel Writing Month events as frequently as for nearly 20 years I have done these events. So we're talking about 20 plus books written. I have a solid sense of how I write best. So I tell myself the story. Especially with the Austen ones, I know my Jane Austen story beats. I think of my characters, I write out their plans, I think of my ending, and then I write out the story. And then I put it away for about 3 or 4 months. I don't look at it, I don't consider it. I go back to the other projects that are being edited and published. I then come back to it and I start writing this draft, draft 2. This draft is where we go from what I need to know about the story to what you want to read in the story. And to make sure of that, I do the beta read at the end of draft 2. This way, before I try to do anything else, I get feedback from the readers. I find out if I've missed any beats with the characters or with the story, or if something is missing. I think for Sweeten Up Ginny Darcy, I realized at the end, like the major Darcy proposal scene, and I think anybody who's read Pride or seen a Pride and Prejudice movie knows the proposal scene, the disastrous proposal scene. I had left it out of the entire manuscript for my beta readers, and it sort of messed with it. But I will then make a third draft after the beta read, and that will be what goes to my editor, typically a developmental editor mixed with a line editor, so that they'll pay attention to the story from an editor's point of view. This is not changing my words. This is making sure, from a professional who understands how stories work, that I am hitting the beats, that I am giving enough emotion, that my lines make sense. Sometimes they make sense in my head and they really don't on paper. And then the final version after that person finishes is me running everything through Grammarly for the 15th time and going to a proofreader. So yes, there are multiple phases of an edit for a book, which is why it takes me a year. I am not a fast writer. So I'm going to speed up the rest of this, but I'm going to let you watch how I do. And I think I only got through about 3 chapters this day when I was working. But I am still, at the same time as this, finishing up a major rewrite of Pride, Prejudice, and Pledging, which has dominated my brain. And I picked this up to get a break from Lisbeth and Will. I love them. They are fun. I enjoy being in her head, but it is exhausting. And this was a nice break. So I hope you enjoy the speed up version, and like and subscribe. Do the YouTube things. Liking this video lets YouTube know to show you more and lets me know to make more of things like this. And if you subscribe, you'll be kept abreast. YouTube rewards people when people subscribe. I don't know what they do. It's weird. But anyway, enjoy.